live from the Walter E. and Maryland Bartlett Television Center here at CCM at the University of Cincinnati. It's been a while, but we're back with you live. Sean McMahon, Ethan Bastian to my right. I'm Alex Frank. Special thanks to our executive producer, Brendan Mitchell. If you like the content we are producing, feel free to follow us on Bearcats Media. Today's topics: Bearcats basketball. Unfortunately, the Bearcats lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament to Iowa just about 2 weeks ago, but they still won the American Athletic Conference Men's Basketball Tournament Championship. We'll also get to the Final Four, which is this Saturday, a very interesting field that will be, UC football, and a little bit on Reds baseball. So guys, welcome. It's been a while, as I mentioned.
It's been a while, yeah, for sure. I'm excited to be back on.
Absolutely. It's been a long time for me, but I'm just happy to be back on air, man.
Good to get it going. Lots happened, too.
Yep.
We haven't hosted a show since before the Super Bowl.
Wow. That's a long time.
So, the Bearcats weren't even in the top 25 for the first time before when we hosted a show. So let's get to the Bearcats. Look, obviously not what we wanted as far as the end result. We wanted, I don't know, at least a Sweet 16. But was it a successful season in your minds?
Well, for me, you know, Alex, me and you were both there in Memphis for the tournament, so it's a very exciting atmosphere to be there for sure. I definitely look at it like they had a successful season because a lot of people didn't even pick the Bearcats to be in the top half of the American Athletic Conference. Really, I think UCF was a favorite coming into the season, and Houston ended up being the favorite with only 3 losses over the season, and we beat them in the conference tournament. So I was very impressed by that. And look, we also had a lot of. Kane Broome and Jaron Cumberland did their thing, but also they had a lot of other guys step up and get more playing time this year. Now that the seniors from last year had departed. So I really just think that the stars are the limit, really. I'm just excited to see that they're really still making the tournament, but now we got to really get to that point where, look, they've been to the tournament now 9 straight years now. Got to do something in the postseason like a lot of Cincinnati sports need to do.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that. It definitely was a successful season overall. Some people were even considering this to be like a rebuilding season, in some people's minds because we lost, the 3 key players, Gary, Kyle, and Jacob. But overall, we had a really great season, I think. We got 28 wins at the end of the season.
Yeah, 28 wins.
28 wins.
Yeah.
28 wins at the end of the season. We won the tournament. No one was expecting that this year at all, especially when it was against Houston. We saw how we played in the second half against Houston in the regular season game.
Yeah.
So, in the second regular season game, I should say, at home here in Cincinnati. So no one was really expecting that, but I think overall the season was successful. But like Ethan said, people don't want just good seasons; they want good end results as well. We need to do something. Great. We've been in the tournament 9 straight years. What have we accomplished? 1 Sweet 16.
It's not cutting it.
That's great. We have wins. People are comparing Mick Cronin to Marvin Lewis, which is unfair because he could actually win in the postseason. But just it just stinks that we couldn't get further than the round of 32. In most cases, or even just the first round. We just made 1 Sweet 16. So I definitely think it was a disappointing way to end the season, but it was not a disappointing season at all.
Yeah, that's a great point that you bring up there, Sean, to end what you were saying. Look, I was disappointed that they lost to Iowa because I honestly thought, like you said, Ethan, you, myself, and Kaylin Zielinowski were in Memphis for the tournament. We saw them, and after that championship game, I'm like, you know what? This team can make a deep run in March. And I was saying that even with knowing that, this team is not what it was last year when it had guys like Gary Clark, Jacob Evans, and Kyle Washington. Now, Jaron Cumberland was still that alpha male. He played in all 35 games, scored 18.8 points a game. He shot the ball extremely well from the field and from three-point range. Also could dish out assists. I'm looking at the stats, 127 assists on the season. That's pretty good for a guy who's considered to be, I think, a shooting guard. Now, Mick Cronin has talked about him playing point guard, but that's a topic for another show. As far as it being a successful season, I would say yes. You can't always look at it by the month of March. I understand that, this team has only made 1 Sweet 16 in the last 9 years. Yes, eventually they are going to have to get over the hump, but we knew going in that it was going to be very difficult for this team to do that. I think what happened in the regular season, where you had a chance to win the regular season, let's forget about winning the conference tournament for a minute. The Bearcats were tied for first place going into the final week of the regular season, and even though they lost to UCF, which there's no shame in losing to UCF on the road, that was a very difficult game. You were playing UCF on Taco Fall senior night.
With his mom there, too.
Yeah.
His mom was there.
For the first time in 7 years.
That's true.
He was seeing his mom,
Big
okay?
emotional moment. For
Yeah.
sure.
7 years. That's crazy.
No shame in losing to UCF. Now, Houston at home, that was a bad loss. You can't get outscored 44-22 in the last 13 minutes of a basketball game. And on your home court on your senior day. After that loss, I'm like, we're lucky just to win one game in the tournament. That's why, I think we talked about it driving to Memphis, Ethan. I'm like, I just want to win one game.
Absolutely.
Now, when we won one game, it was great. Wichita State was tougher than it maybe should have been. But the Houston game, I mean, you talk about, it felt like we were blowing them out. It really did. And after that game, it was like, you know what? This is what I thought all along. Yeah, the doubters can be there. We can make a deep run in March. We had the pieces, I thought, to do that. But we simply, ran into a team who spaced us out in Iowa. Nasir Brooks fouling out in that game was paramount to the game's outcome. It was detrimental to our chances in winning the game. But as far as it being a successful season, yes. Like you said, Ethan, we were picked to finish second. But it took a while for us to get into the top 25. We had some struggles early. But I just think, yes, we lost in the first round of the tournament. But we still exceeded expectations. But of course, living in Cincinnati, we're going to be judged by our postseason failures.
Yep, definitely. I think that's huge. Is people talk about like, oh, we're always viewed as a good team. We have made let's give us credit. We have made the tournament 9 straight years. That's not something that's easy to accomplish. I think there's only 7 programs that can say that or something like that. It's like 5
I think
or
only
7.
Yeah, not
6
many.
programs, including us.
6. Okay, 6. So that's something to be proud of. But it's just really frustrating as Cincinnati fans to not be able to show that success that we are a good team, because people look at the postseason results. They're like, I don't care about your regular season. What'd you do in the postseason? How close did you come to winning the whole thing? So it's frustrating from that angle, but we still have to step back and kind of look at well, we've had some really good seasons the past 9 seasons. But it's just really frustrating that we can't prove to people that we are a really, really, really good team in March.
Yeah, and to add to that, I mean, just the fact is that Iowa is a really good shooting team. I mean, they play very well in their second game as well, and I think that's sometimes the Bearcats' problem. Maybe it's a recruiting issue where they always kind of get players who are really hard-nosed defenders, and that's not a problem, but you can't just rely on just Jaron Cumberland to get all your points, because if he's not hot or he gets ice cold in one half or another, that's not going to cut it in March Madness.
You need someone else you can always look to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're playing teams that are look. I mean, even look at Michigan State. They're in the Final Four now. We'll get to that later. But none of those players, probably besides maybe Cassius Winston, will even make the NBA this year. But they were able to beat a Duke team that had the top 3 players in the nation on one squad.
Yeah.
So it really just shows that UC, they can hang with anybody. I mean, look, UCF almost beat Duke. Houston made it to the Sweet 16. And we were able to be competitive with both of those teams in the top of our conference. But for whatever reason, the big lights come on and we just shrink. And we got to get better with just Cincinnati in general to really just change that narrative, which Chicago, Boston with the Cubs, Red Sox, those teams did it, so why can't we?
Yeah, even the Philadelphia Eagles you can throw in there as well when they
sure.
won the Super Bowl last year. Look, I think another thing, too, when it comes to not just the Bearcats, but Cincinnati sports in general, when you get into these survive and advance games, we have started out well in some games. Like the Bengals, their first 2 postseason appearances under Marvin Lewis, they had a first-half lead.
Sure
and
did.
in the first playoff game, they had a second-half lead. And this was without Carson Palmer. But as soon as the opposition took the lead, they started panicking. Here's what they probably thought. They're like, oh my gosh, if we lose this game, we're going home. So your mind starts to think about losing. Instead, why don't you think about winning? What can I do to make the situation better? I think that's what happened last year in Nashville. I can't believe I'm bringing this up. When Nevada started coming back, again, you're in a survive and advance situation. What can you do? They panicked. We panic in these situations. You can't do that. The Patriots don't panic. Name another team that doesn't panic.
Golden State, they don't
Golden
panic
State
for sure.
doesn't panic. I mean, they could have lost Game 7 against Houston last year.
But we all knew that they weren't.
No, Houston shot themselves out of that
Yeah,
game.
and you knew that soon Tom Brady got that football in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. It was game over.
It was over.
It
The
was
coin,
over.
so the game was decided on a coin toss.
Oh, yeah.
It was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
James Harden, we know, comes up short in the fourth quarter all the time, which is why they kind of
Yes.
struggled along with Chris Paul, or he gets hurt, which is what
That's
happened
why they need
last
to put in Gary Clark.
Yeah.
Hopefully we'll get some play this year. I'm hoping.
But
So,
yeah, I just think, this happens with the Reds. I think when against the Giants in Game 3, they lost that game. As soon as they lose one game, one thing leads to another. And with that, with our postseason failures, even though we had a very good season and what was, like Sean said, you said a rebuilding year, we can't be excited about that because we lose in the first round. Like, that's ridiculous almost. I understand what some Cincinnati sports fans think. I'm not one of them. Some of them, I'm not naming anybody in particular, but some of them probably think with our postseason failures that, we have to win even though when we're not supposed to. You can't think about it that way. If you look at this Bearcats team, we knew going in that, we won in the Sweet 16, probably wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, we would have to play Tennessee in the second round if we did advance. So,
But on top of that, though, Tennessee could have been upset in their first two games.
Yeah, they almost
as well.
won, yeah.
So I mean,
Oh yeah,
there's no
I forgot
doubt
about that game against Colgate.
Cincinnati definitely, if they would have got past that first round game, they had a shot to hang with Tennessee and hang with teams like that. Because, like I said, they're playing in a conference where two teams did at least put their best foot forward in the tournament. UC has that kind of caliber team to do that. It's just about, I don't know, it's about changing that culture, changing that mindset, really. That's why I'm glad we got rid of Marvin Lewis, and I hope that Zach Taylor does his thing in Cincinnati to change the culture there.
Yeah. Because
they needed a culture shot. Getting rid of Vontaze Burfict, that's
Sure.
key. But for the Bearcats, I really just hope Cumberland comes back. I really think that's a key thing this year to what the future success of this team is just next year and getting things rolling so that when he does leave, other players can step up and take over and really keep this team going for years to come.
That's kind of like what Sean Kilpatrick was his senior year. And good players have come since then. Gary Clark, example. Jacob Evans. To your point, who was it you, Ethan, that just made the point about how we can't get past the first round? Sometimes in when a team is good, and we've had some good Cincinnati sports teams, the Bengals, the Reds, the Bearcats,
FC.
Yeah, FC Cincinnati last year in the United Soccer League. Now they're in MLS. When you have high expectations, like a championship, or maybe just like a final, or maybe a Final Four, sometimes the hardest thing is winning that first tournament game. You can have all these high expectations, but if you can't win one tournament game, because teams are going to compete against you in the tournament, regardless of your seed. We saw that with UMBC last year against Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia had championship aspirations. They lost their first tournament game.
Sure did.
Sometimes the hardest games to win, especially in the NCAA tournament where the madness really happens, is in the first weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think one thing is that people kind of overlook their opponents sometimes. Not necessarily that we did that this year with Iowa. We definitely I don't think we overlooked them. I think like you said, we panicked and we just choked. But some people overlook their opponents. They don't recognize them as a legitimate threat, and then it comes back to bite them in the butt. So I don't know. I would have to agree with a lot of that for sure.
Did you think we did that with Nevada last year?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Definitely. I mean, we were a 2 seed at that point. I mean, we were definitely a team that a lot of people, they might not have picked us to go to Final Four, but they made us at least thought we were going to make a Sweet 16, if not a Elite 8 run. I mean, we had a legit team that everybody was behind. I mean, we had all those players there, Gary Clark, Jacob Evans, leadership. They had the young guys. Cumberland was only a sophomore at that point. So you had guys still that whole roundedly was just a really good team. And this team surprised me. I mean, when I went to the tournament, it was like, wow, I could not believe how good this team really is. They have the grit, they have hard-nosed play, but they gotta change some things scheme-wise, I think, especially offensively, because as you saw against Iowa, they got off to a great start. Everybody was like, oh, boys, UC is going, and then all of a sudden things started to shrink, and then what happened? Offense was just gone, and slowly but surely Iowa started nailing threes until it was over.
Exactly right. They're up 18-5. But I said to myself, this is just like the Nevada game last year. Started out really fast, couldn't keep it together for 40 minutes on offense. Ethan, you mentioned about how the Bearcats needed that second option with Cumberland. Well, Justin Jennifer to me was that. The first tournament game in the conference tournament against SMU, we were there. Justin Jennifer has a great first half. Oh, he doesn't have a great second half, but Jaron Cumberland scores 27 points.
Yeah, and I remember Jennifer was perfect from the field that day too.
He
had
was.
a perfect shooting day as well. Yeah.
What was it, 17 points on 6 of 6 from the field?
Mm-hmm. I think you're right.
Okay,
Yep.
and 5 of them were from 3-point range.
Yeah.
He was balling.
He was doing pretty good in the Iowa game, too.
He was.
Yes.
He was doing really good.
Cumberland didn't show up in that game, though, to
No.
me. No.
Yeah.
I mean, too many jump shots. That's what you do when you panic. You don't stick to the game plan or whatever it was of driving to the rim. Like, I remember Zach texting me at halftime. He's like, I Cumberland needs to drive to the rim more. He never did in the second half. He didn't.
Yeah.
Like, what were we afraid of? Oh, Nasir Brooks wasn't in the game to rebound the basketball? Now, you can say that was the reason why they won the Wichita State game in the tournament, because Cumberland had the worst game maybe of his season, probably did, in that game, while Trey Scott and Nasir Brooks. The stats from that game, I have those right here. So, in that game, Jaron Cumberland was 11 points, 3 of 16 from the field. Not great. Oh, by the way, he had 5 turnovers. Nasir Brooks, 13 points, 9 rebounds. Trey Scott, 12 points, 8 rebounds. They don't win that game without those 2 players. There's a reason why they went to the big post-game press conference, because they were the stars of the game.
Yeah. And not to mention that, but if it wasn't for Kane Broome making clutch shots late, including the game-winning layup at the end, they still wouldn't have squeaked by Wichita State. I mean, Wichita State, as you saw, has had a lot of good postseason runs as far as March Madness as well. I think it's their first time in, 7 years? They're not in March Madness. It's been a little while since
First
Wichita
time
State.
since...
Because Greg Marshall's been getting a lot of wins over there.
Yeah. What? I think they made it 9 years in a row, from
Did they?
2010 to 18. But yeah, like you said, Ethan, and even this year in a rebuilding year, they still had some great players. Dexter Dennis is going to be a great player for them next year. Jamie Echenike is going to be a great player for them next year. You won't see guys like Samaje Haynes-Jones or I think you won't see Samaje Haynes-Jones or Marcus McDuffie, but you're going to be seeing a much improved Wichita State team. They got better as this season wore on.
Mm-hmm.
So still trying to figure out what that sound is. Oh, anyway. Let's talk about Jaron Cumberland for a minute. Great year for him. AAC Player of the Year, unanimous selection. Yeah, honorable mention All-American.
Deserved.
Yeah,
Very
well
well
deserved. Unanimous selection to the conference first team. But, I think a question we're going to ponder is he going to return?
For me, he should. Now, whether he chooses not to, that's up to him. But you got to look at the facts. I mean, I haven't seen Jaron Cumberland's name in the first round drafted, most people's mock draft, and sometimes not even the second round. And so for me, as an NBA prospect, the money is not going to really be there as a risk at that point. You might end up potentially being a G League player. Every now and then you see a Draymond Green or a Manu Ginobili that's picked in the second round that comes up, but another year is not going to hurt. And I also think that loss, which was very disappointing, and knowing that he is now the star, he's our biggest player, he might really have some determination to want to come back next year and really right the wrong of that Iowa game, knowing that he didn't play his best performance, and knowing that, look, we already know Mick Cronin's getting offers at head coaching spots. He didn't take it this time, but those things are coming, especially if we continue to disappoint in postseason play. So for Cumberland, this is his last stand, his last hurrah.
Song, kind of.
And why not? I mean, you're a star of UC basketball. The ball is in your hands. You're not going to have that in the NBA, especially not right away. So finish it out. Do your senior year. And there's been many 4-year players that have still went on to do your thing in the NBA. One more year is not going to make or break that opportunity for him.
Draymond was one of those, as you said. Sean?
I mean, really, everything he just said, basically. It's pretty much, he just pretty much summarized all my thoughts on Jaron. I definitely think he should come back. Again, his decision. We would love to see him back another year. But I agree with the whole, if we can't perform in the postseason, there's a problem there. So.
I saw something today in The Athletic that there was a discussion where you could post comments, and someone said if the Bearcats do end up winning in March, then Mick Cronin will get more offers. Now, that could be. But I'm like, is Cincinnati that kind of program where you coach and then you get offered by schools like Kentucky or UCLA? I don't think Cincinnati should be that kind of school in basketball. It is one of the top 15 winningest programs in college basketball history. Football might be a different story. Fine. Although Luke Fickell turned down West Virginia. Did he turn it down or?
I think he turned it down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he was being rumored to taking over at West Virginia, which I think he made a great decision not to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
So I heard from Lance McAllister just now on Sports Talk that TCU's current head coach Jamie Dixon, reports are that he's going to be the next head coach at UCLA. So UCLA's off the table for Mick Cronin. Now, he could still go to Virginia Tech. I don't know why you would do that. Go to Blacksburg in place of staying in Cincinnati, a place that you've grown up your whole life in.
Yeah, plus family as well.
Oh,
having
yeah.
to move your family. I think that would be tough too. So
Yeah.
and he's got family in Cincinnati, not just like his immediate not just like his family that he had, but like also his immediate family. You know what I mean? So
And that's why I don't think we're kind of segueing here. I don't think Mick Cronin's going to leave. As far as Jaron Cumberland, I mean, as Ethan said, you won't, or it kind of hinted at, you won't lose anything by playing another year. It's not like you have such high draft stock. It was different last year with Jacob Evans because he was projected as a first-round pick. I haven't seen any mock drafts yet where Jaron Cumberland is projected in those mock drafts, but I'm thinking, I think you should stay. You're one of the biggest stars that UC basketball has had in recent memory. You have a chance to be the second all-time leading scorer in UC basketball history behind Oscar Robertson.
That's a big deal.
That's
I
huge.
don't think that should be the reason why he comes back, though. I'm saying, look, if he returns, you return 80% of your starting lineup. You're returning guys also including Ilios Oseme, Rashawn Fredericks, Logan Johnson,
Keith Williams,
who was in the starting lineup, Mamadou Diarra, Trevor Moore. You're only losing Kane Broom and Justin Jennifer.
and then you gain
Basically.
Samari Curtis as well,
Forgot about
3-star
that.
recruiter from Xenia.
Yes, Mr. Basketball for the
Mr.
state
Basketball.
of Ohio.
Right up north.
He's gonna get hammered with booze at the crosstown shootout because he originally committed to Xavier,
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
but then he decided to come to the good school in
Well, he
Cincinnati.
Made a better
made a
decision
smart
on that
decision.
one.
Yeah.
Well, and the best school, hence by the last result of the crosstown shootout.
Yeah, but they're also struggling too by losing their head coach as well, which is why I definitely think that UC doesn't want to lose Mick Cronin because
Wait for a minute, I thought you said they lost Travis Steele.
no, I'm saying Xavier losing Chris Mack going
Yeah.
to Louisville, that was a big loss for them. So it takes a little while to rebuild your program after you've had such a stalemate as that main guy as Xavier for all those years.
Mhm.
And Mick Cronin, I mean, look, you can criticize him and all that, but he's not playing in the same ballpark as these Dukes and North Carolina's UK. I mean, the Power 5 conferences, they get like $30 million, let's just say, and they split it over that whole conference, where the American only gets about $5 million.
Yep.
UC is doing a lot with what they have to work with. And, yeah, like you said, football is one of those things where, they're still growing. They're trying to rebuild that program. And I think Luke Fickell is a great coach and great person to have in line for that. But Mick Cronin, he's been established now. He's been here since, 2006? 13 years now?
Yeah, 13
No,
years.
14th season.
13 years.
So what's the reason for especially from going back to Jaron Cumberland? I saw the relationship they had there in Memphis. They seem to have a very good relationship. We're able to joke with each other. And Mick is a guy that's honest too, so he'll tell you if he's not going to discourage you from leaving, but he's also just looking out for his best interests of his player and saying, look, it's going to be better for us to build a legacy here so that, he could take over and be the biggest thing of UC. And then if the NBA works out, great. But at least you have other opportunities to do that. So for both of them, I think it's just best for them to stay one more year.
Yeah, there's nothing to lose by staying one more year, like we've been hinting at. If Mick Cronin's been here for 13 years, that's why I don't think he's going to leave. If he does leave, it's going to be because of athletic director Mike Bone not communicating with him and giving him the contract extension that I quite frankly feel like he deserves. Put aside the March failures. 2 regular season titles, back-to-back conference tournaments, every year being competitive, being talked about nationally as a team you don't want to face in March. What else do you want? And as far as Chris Mack, I found it shocking when he left last year because he, like Mick Cronin, from Cincinnati, went to St. X, went to Xavier, coached at his alma mater, and he left for Louisville. And he struggled.
That ACC money.
Well, yes.
That ACC money, man.
You're going to the
money has power.
You're
Money
going to the
talks.
best conference in college basketball, but at the end of the day, I mean, Louisville basketball has been not the same as it was when Rick Pitino was there. Like Chris Mack, it was going into a situation trying to dig themselves out of Louisville. What happened when Rick Pitino was there from the whole scandal? Now, he had a decent first year, got Louisville to the tournament, but didn't play well down the stretch. They lost their first tournament game. But as far as Jaron Cumberland, look, I think he should come back. I think it'd be great if he did. It would give some fans to be excited about. There's a season ticket waiting list for next year.
Yeah.
I can believe it.
I hope that doesn't
Doesn't
apply. I
surprise
hope that
me.
doesn't apply to students. Although if we commentate every game, then we'll have no problem.
Well, let's
There you
hope on
go.
that. I'm hoping that happens.
Get those priority points.
We will. No, if we went to the conference tournament, I think that we would be able to do that next year. Anyway, so elsewhere in college basketball, there's a pretty big event on Saturday. If you guys didn't know about that,
Well aware, my friend. Well aware.
well aware. The Final Four in Minneapolis, Saturday on CBS. It begins at about approximately 6:09. Weird start times, but okay. Auburn, 5th-seeded Auburn, champions of the Midwest region, will take on Virginia, top-seeded in the East region, champions there. Approximately 30 minutes after the conclusion of that game, it'll be 3rd-seeded Texas Tech, champions from the West region, against 2nd-seeded champions of the East, Michigan State. Quite an interesting field, but a good one.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun Final Four, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, definitely wasn't one I was expecting at all.
Nope.
Duke was my team in all 3 of my brackets, so that got busted. I did have Cincinnati in one of them, so that obviously hurt me the first weekend. But in the other 2, I was really riding with Duke. And look, it was impressive what Michigan State did to have but that's the Tom Izzo team right there, just gritty players, like you said, Draymond Green, other guys in the past that are they stay 3-4 years a lot of times, and they do. Look, they just bring it, when they bring it this time of year, and they always do, as does Coach K's teams. But, again, I was such a young roster. I'm really surprised by Texas Tech. I wasn't expecting them to be this good. I didn't really know too much about them going into the tournament. So that's going to be a really fun matchup. I think Texas Tech, to be honest with you, is going to win that one just because I feel like Texas Tech has more talent. Ultimately, I feel like they have more athleticism. And I think even though Michigan State's going to play a lot of more scheme basketball, and Tom is going to get them in all the right spots, but I don't know if that's going to be enough to beat Texas Tech. Now, on the other side, Auburn versus who are they playing? Virginia again. Auburn is my team now to win it all to me. I like the fact that it's cool that Texas Tech and Auburn have both never been to the Final Four before, so it's cool to see some different teams in there. But I really just like the fact that, look, they're gritty, and Auburn, they lost one of their best players and still were able to beat a Kentucky basketball team. What can you say? Sometimes it's meant to be. It's Charles Barkley's old team, and I like Charles a lot. So I'm riding with the Tigers on that one. Not the LSU Tigers this time, but keep it in the SEC family with Auburn.
Well, lucky for you, this isn't football.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd be in a bit of a predicament because they are rivals in football.
Yeah. I mean, they're rivals in basketball too, but LSU doesn't get the same acclaim in basketball that they do in football, so I have no problem rooting for Auburn in this case.
Yeah, I'm excited for the Final Four this weekend. I actually had Texas Tech going up against North Carolina in the championship game, and then North Carolina winning that. Obviously, North Carolina didn't make it, but I wasn't actually surprised that Texas Tech made it to the Final Four. I wasn't. I honestly thought that they were going to make a pretty decent run at the very least in March, and they are making a great run right now. Now Auburn came out of left field. I don't know what the heck happened there, but they came out of nowhere. I was really happy when they beat Kentucky, being a Cincinnati fan. But I think Texas Tech, like Ethan said, I think they're gonna beat Michigan State. I think it'll be a close game. I could see it going into overtime. But I think Texas Tech just has more of a drive to get to the championship game because it's their first Final Four. They're gonna want to win more than probably Michigan State is, I think. Now on the other side, Virginia and Auburn. People might say just, oh, it's Virginia and Auburn's just this 5th seed. I don't care. I mean, like we were just talking about Virginia and UMBC last year. That was the first round. Like they were supposed to win.
Yeah.
But this is the Final Four. Like, I don't know. I could see that game going either way. I really could. I think Auburn, again, first Final Four. I love having as many underdogs in this Final Four
Absolutely.
as we can get. Oh, welcome to your first Final Four, and it's 2 out of the 4 teams. I would love to see Auburn and Texas Tech go up against each other just because that would be their first national championship game. So, but overall, I don't know what I think of that side between Michigan State and Virginia and Auburn.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think.
Yeah.
I don't know who's going to win. It could go either way, I think. But in terms of Texas Tech and Michigan State, I think it's Texas Tech going to win.
It's strength against strength in the Auburn-Virginia game because Auburn's a great 3-point shooting team, whereas Virginia is a great defensive team. Brendan, can we pull up the just Google the Purdue-Virginia. It's Mamadi Diakite, M-A-M-A-D-I, and then Diakite, D-I-E, is it D-I-A, sorry. Mamadi Diakite, so it's M-A-M-A-D-I, and then Diakite, D-I-A-K-I-T-E. Something about Mamadi Diakite versus Purdue. It's this incredible play that Purdue... I just want to pull this up for everyone to see it, that maybe didn't. But, so Mamadi Diakite... we got an ad there on the YouTube. So this is the end of the regulation of the Purdue-Virginia game in the Elite Eight down in Louisville, actually. So Purdue's up 2, Virginia at the line shooting a free throw, and as Brendan has it pulled up, so you're going to see 5.9 seconds left. Virginia's down 2. DeAndre Hunter's at Ty Jerome, at the free throw line. He misses. Now watch Diakite tips it all the way into the backcourt. Kihei Clark of Virginia races after it, passes it alertly, and then Diakite, literally a touch shot, banks it in from the right mid-post, ties the game at 70. Game goes to overtime. Truly, there's so much happening on that one play, and someone tried to tell me this week, oh, that was a fluke play. No, it really wasn't.
Well, I mean, we saw sometimes this basketball, sometimes things just have to fall your way. I mean, Duke, again, they could have lost to UCF or Aubrey Dawkins with that layup. If he would have threw it down with the alley-oop, the game would have been over well before that. So, I mean, sometimes it just kind of – things got to roll your way. And Virginia, well, shout out to Purdue because I really think they were really –
I was a little bummed they didn't make it.
Yeah, because I really was actually rooting for them as well in that game because, look, they was playing hard that whole game. And but that was nip and tuck. They had also battled against Tennessee. I think it was the game before that Purdue did.
Maybe shouldn't have even been in that Elite Eight game because they almost lost to Tennessee after being up by 18.
Exactly. But, almost doesn't cut it in this business, just W's and L's. So,
Oh, we understand that. So, yeah, there's no participation trophies in March Madness. Well, you do get a regional championship trophy. So, look, Purdue was a fun team to watch. Obviously, Tyler Eifert's brother Grady is on the team. That's why I was kind of pulling for them. But in that Purdue-Virginia game, and Sean mentioned about having 2 new teams in the Final Four. But how about in that game, Purdue hadn't been in the Final Four since 1980, Virginia since 1984. Those teams were going at it because they knew what was on the line. They knew not just about this team that they were on, but the history of their respective programs. Carson Edwards goes for 42 points, 10 threes.
That dude was going off.
He was
He's
insane.
hitting shots from I don't know.
Like basically where the logo was. Like not actually, but he was hitting like NBA 3 range 3-pointers.
No doubt about
it was ridiculous.
No doubt.
And that was his second 42-point game of the NCAA tournament.
Wow.
But it wasn't just the Purdue-Virginia game. Every game that weekend was incredible. Texas Tech Gonzaga, incredible. Auburn Kentucky was a great game. Kentucky should have won that game by 20. They didn't.
Yeah.
Michigan State Duke. Let's talk about that game for a minute because Brendan, if you don't mind pulling up last 5 seconds of Michigan State Duke, I want you all to watch this.
That was a heart-wrenching moment. That was
yeah, it really was
scary.
Yeah.
Good way to say it because you don't normally see that very often. So we're gonna pull up for you the last kind of 5-ish seconds of the Michigan State Duke game. So Michigan State has the ball, and Duke is gonna try and foul Michigan State. You think, okay, they'll do it? Not necessarily.
I mean, yeah, it was like I was kind of like trying to predict what they were going to try and do. I was like, well, okay, if they're this far up the court, all he has to do is pass it to the back court, and then someone's just got to catch it and run around as fast as they can.
Yeah,
Knock
and
it.
teams will try and do that. That's what happened in the Auburn-Kentucky game. So we're going to show you what Michigan State did. So they're up 68-67. R.J. Barrett had missed 1 out of 2 from the free throw line after a made 3 by Michigan State, Kenny Goings. So I think the video, I can see it through the window. You're seeing a bunch of Duke. Maybe it's another ad or something. So anyway, who was the inbound of the ball to Cassius Winston?
No idea.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Yeah.
Whoever inbounded the ball. So Cassius Winston. Google ending of Michigan State Duke.
It should just be like a highlight video or something.
Yeah,
Or
it
just the
should
highlights,
be.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the highlights in the very end. So Cassius Winston catches the inbound pass, and there's no one near him.
Nope.
Just dribbles out the clock.
Yeah, that's devastating. Definitely. And to add to that, R.J. Barrett.
Excuse me? Yes.
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 Yeah, but R.J. Barrett, he really, I think he short-armed the first free throw, and so at that point it was like, okay, they needed. He really should have tried to miss the second free throw, and I think he actually just made it on accident, to be honest, and that put them in a bad situation.
Yeah, no, that was an
there, so
accident. That was an
yeah,
accident.
You could just tell by
Yeah.
the way his body language was that really wasn't supposed to happen, and from there on, it just the momentum, I think, was sucked out of Duke. And like I said, these guys are all 18 years old, so at the end of the day, it is what it is. But here comes the highlights now.
So this is the last time Zion touched the ball. That's another thing, too. It's like, how does Zion Williamson not touch the ball in the last 141? Here's the made 3 from Kenny Goings that puts Michigan State ahead. Okay. Now you're thinking, okay, it was a back-and-forth game. Duke's probably going to hit a 3 to go ahead. So this is Barrett taking a 3. I think he airballed that one. Goes out of bounds. Still Duke ball. And Trey Jones inbounds it to R.J. Barrett, drives to the rim, misses, gets fouled. Okay, going to the line. Not the worst thing in the world for your Michigan State because Barrett stunk from the free throw line all season.
You're gonna have to work on that for sure.
Yeah. 3 points, man. Can't miss that.
There's the miss. Now, this is what, Ethan, you're talking about.
I mean,
He
you could tell that
definitely
he was
did
trying to
not
make
mean-
that.
Yeah, he was trying to miss it. So,
I feel like it's pretty hard to intentionally,
Yeah. Here's the play.
Yeah, there
Here's
you
the
go.
play. Watch this. Cassius Winston
Easy.
catches the inbound pass, dribbles away, ball game over.
It's devastating. I mean, it's really just devastating for Duke to work that hard to get to the elite, and you're so close. And now everybody's saying that it's a disappointing season, it's a failure. When
It
you win
is.
that game, I mean, it is a failure,
It
but
is.
it's like, I mean, God, man, like these guys are kids.
He just got outplayed in March.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
they're
March.
kids.
Like,
These are 18, 19-year-old kids that they've never been on a stage this big before. And you can say out of talent all day long, but we see with Cumberland, we see with other players, they're not going to be on their A game every single game. It's hard to do over a course of all these games they got to play throughout the season. I mean, it's a tough atmosphere, man. So I can't blame anybody for having one small game, but it's a matter of inches in college basketball. Sometimes it's just one mistake and one play. Duke could have been eliminated in the first round sometimes with the way they were playing early on. So
Against
It
North
just-
Dakota State.
yeah, it's
I remember
definitely
that game.
Tight early, very tight early.
If you, what was I gonna say just now? I understand your point about how these are 18 and 19-year-old kids, but at the end of the day, this is on Coach K. How he doesn't get this team to the Final Four is beyond me. I mean, you have the top 3 players in the country. You have one of the most transcendent basketball players in the history of the sport, maybe, definitely in our lifetime.
Yeah.
And you can't get this team to the Final Four? I don't care if this team doesn't win a national championship. Just get them to the Final Four. You can't give the ball to Zion Williamson in that situation. You did it against UCF. Why couldn't you do it against Michigan State? You put too much trust in R.J. Barrett, which there's no problem with that, but that wasn't the solution to get your team to the Final Four. We're kind of running short on time, so we'll go Final Four picks.
Okay.
I think I
For the
already stated mine, but
semifinal-
I'll say it again.
You what?
I think I might have already made my picks, but I'll say it
You
again.
Absolutely, yeah.
So you like Texas Tech?
Texas Tech over Michigan State. And
Okay.
then I don't know what to say for Virginia and who was it again? Auburn.
Auburn and
I'll
Virginia.
I'll say Auburn pulls it. I'll say Auburn pulls the upset, and I'll say Texas Tech Auburn final.
I
Tommy
agree.
Who do you
Tuberville's
have
happy.
winning?
What's that?
Who do you have winning in that
Oh, I'm
game?
sorry. Man, I have to say Texas Tech. I think
overall?
they win the whole thing.
Okay.
about that?
For me, it's Texas Tech definitely will get there, as well as Auburn. I like the fact that both those teams have never been there before, so that would be cool to see. As far as championship game goes, I just believe in Auburn ultimately. I think that Auburn really nobody was talking about. I mean, let's not forget they almost got beat in the first round by New Mexico State.
They tried to throw that game away.
Yeah, they tried to throw it away many times. And let's not also forget that Bruce Pearl is a very underrated head coach. He had a very successful program at Tennessee before he got into some troubles off the court. They got him in trouble. So I hope, like LSU's dealing with now, Will Wade. I hope they can work that out, or at least maybe just let Tony Bennett take over because I like what he was doing there as head coach there. But as far as the final is concerned, I just like Auburn because I just feel like they have that grit, especially the fact that they're really playing for somebody. One of their best players can't play the rest of the season. He's got to watch from the sideline. I think that's an inspiration for not only for him to get a ring, for Charles Barkley to be able to support his team on TV. It's something with, Auburn fan base is not seen for a long time. We talk about them all the time on football. Let's make basketball a real conversation in the state of Alabama.
20 years ago, that wouldn't have been allowed what Charles Barkley's been doing, especially with journalism being so much about objectivity. No, you can be a fan. But Charles Barkley's not, a journalist. He's an analyst.
Yeah, there's a difference.
And he played at Auburn in the 80s, for those of you that didn't know. I'm going to go with the opposites of what you're saying in the semifinal games. I'm going Michigan State and Virginia. I like Auburn, but at the end of the day, I think Virginia is going to be... I think in that Final Four, defense will prevail. I think it's going to be tough for Auburn to make shots. Now, they could make shots. I'm not saying they won't. I just don't think they will. So I'm going to go with Virginia and Michigan State. I think Michigan State is playing with such a, someone said it on a caller on my show today, or not my show, the show that Zach Friese and I host Wednesday afternoons. He said that Michigan State has blood in their eyes. They're motivated. You think about where they were 3 years ago after they lost to Middle Tennessee.
I do remember that, yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah.
Now they're back in the Final Four where they belong in March. Only 2 seniors that played 4 years under Tom Izzo has not been in the Final Four at least once in their college careers. Think about that.
That's crazy.
I like Michigan State. Championship game, Michigan State, Virginia. Man, that'd be a heavyweight fight. I'm gonna go with Michigan State.
Okay.
I really do.
Okay.
Big Ten champions. Okay.
Yeah. It'd be the first time the Big Ten wins a national championship since 2000, which that'd do great things for the conference.
Who won in 2000?
Michigan State.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
we should have won. UC should have won had it not been for a freakish injury to Kenya Martin. That's a different story though. So that's the Final Four. Real quick, UC football spring game is next Saturday, April 13th, 6 o'clock in Nippert Stadium. It's gonna be fun. Desmond Ridder, Sean, you said he looks fast in practice. He's 2 inches taller than he was last year. I tell you what, you return 85% of your roster, plus Desmond Ridder, who was Rookie of the Year in the conference last year, and Luke Fickell's still here, plus Jared Dokes.
Yep.
Hey.
I was going to say running back depth is there. It's there. Jared, Mike, Tavion, Charles, bang, we're set. Don't even worry about the running. Don't even worry about the running backs.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Don't even worry about running backs. We're good. Receiver
Michael
core is good. I think our secondary on defense is stacked, 110%. D line's probably going to be, obviously we lost our 3 starters, but I think with our new coach Chad Wilt and some of the guys we have taken over, like Malik Van on the D line, I think we'll still be good.
Yeah, and I agree with. Definitely the fact that they had 11 wins last year. Like nobody, you want to talk about being a successful season? That was a successful season for real with the football season because nobody saw that coming. And the fact that their defense was so good, they were so good all season long, and with all these players coming back, they're only going to get better. They would definitely be my favorite in this conference. And look, maybe now is the time that hopefully Lou Fickell can really bring us a season where we can really be ranked throughout the season. Hopefully, get into the rankings early. First couple weeks of the season, at least we're playing some good opponents. Even if we don't beat Ohio State early, if we just hang with them, that's going to speak volumes right there because you don't always have to beat the team sometimes. Sometimes more victories when you're trying to climb the ladder is what you got to do sometimes. And making statements like that, hey, we're here, we've arrived, that's I think Cincinnati football especially would really be put on the map. And maybe we can get more games like we did with UCF where we're actually on national TV.
Well, the schedule, you mentioned, Ethan, the Ohio State game. The schedule's front-loaded. You got all the big games early. Ohio State, Miami, UCF.
Marshall.
Marshall is
At
a,
Marshall.
you don't want to
At
sleep on
Marshall.
that. You don't want to sleep
Yeah.
on that.
At Marshall.
Yeah.
That's key.
And they beat us 2 years ago.
They whooped us 2
What?
They whooped us 2 years ago.
Oh, I remember
I was
that
there.
game.
It was bad.
You were there. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, what? Their tight end. Who was their tight end
No
that
idea.
had 3 touchdowns in the first half?
Can't let that happen.
It was ugly.
That sounds like Bengals defense right there.
No,
Getting
no,
ate alive.
Well,
by
yeah, tight
ends.
end, yes. Look, and you still have tough games throughout the remainder of the season. Houston's going to be no joke, going on the road especially. Memphis, the day after Thanksgiving's not going to be easy. I'm thinking about South Florida. Temple's never easy. It's going to be a tough schedule. Now, this team, I mean, look, last year, Sean said it came out. You said it came out of left field. Yeah, it did. I thought maybe 6-6, 7-5, maybe 8-4. Okay, I was 10-2. I'll take that. Ethan, you said about being ranked throughout the season. Look, last year, based off what happened in 2017, that may not have been the case. This is going to be a very good UC football team.
Mm-hmm.
They may not go 10-2 and still be better than they were last year. Why? Because of their schedule. Good. You're playing good teams.
Yeah.
You should be UCLA at home to start the season, I think.
We would hope. That's a Thursday night game too, week 0.
On
Yeah.
You gotta love that.
ESPN.
You gotta love that.
Week 0.
It's a week 0 game considered, I think.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it's considered week 0
That
anyway.
makes sense though. I get
Huh.
what you're saying. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
How about that?
Yeah, and it's also I think that's a critical game because otherwise, I mean, I hate to say it, but they would probably start 0-2 if they lose the UCLA game because I can't pick them
Then
to
you
beat
lose
Ohio
that
State.
motivation to beat
And-
Ohio State. Yeah.
Exactly, and then
There's-
it just you don't want to start off the season that way. Got to get that game at home to really go up the road to Columbus and have a puncher's chance.
If you can come out of that first 5-game stretch 3-2, you're good. And then you can finish 9-3, 8-4. I mean, they're going to be a good football team. Harder schedule though this year.
Yeah, I think one thing people should watch out is don't have your hopes too high.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't expect an undefeated season or anything like that. Expect a good season. I'm not saying expect a bad season. Just don't expect a perfect season or a better season than last year.
National championship.
Yeah. We're not yet.
We're not there yet.
Right.
But just have confidence in your team all year that they can win, and that's all. That's all I really do. Even if we're going against a tough team like Ohio State, I talk to people. I'm like, I think we can beat Ohio State. They're like, you're crazy. I'm like, not really. I'm not really. Again, you bring up the UMBC Virginia thing.
Yeah.
That wasn't supposed to happen. We're not supposed to beat Ohio State. We weren't supposed to beat UCLA last year. We did. I'm just saying it can happen.
Yeah.
Is it likely to happen? No. Do I want it to happen? You bet.
Also, can't forget that Urban Meyer's not there anymore at Ohio
Yep.
State either.
Yep,
So
Ryan
even though Ryan Day I think is well qualified and definitely should be the coach to get the job. Sometimes it's a rocky start sometimes, and losing a game that early, I think would be the best time to take advantage of it, especially because as the season gets later, the Buckeyes always get it rolling,
Yep.
and they find a way to always be there in that national championship
Absolutely.
picture. But game 1 or game 2. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
still
why
working
not?
out their kinks themselves.
Why
So
not? Yeah.
It's a perfect opportunity for them.
Yeah, there's games that are scheduled at certain times, and it's like, okay, well, early in the season, Ohio State may not be who we think who we will eventually know them to be, and at the same time, it's like a big game early, but you can learn a lot about your team in a big early season game. I think we've hit on everything tonight.
I think we have. I think we said we were going to cover Reds baseball, but there's not a whole lot to cover there.
I'm not concerned. I'm not
1-4.
Really, I'm not concerned. They're 1-4, but you lost 3 games by 1 run. You should the best team in baseball, arguably in Milwaukee.
Brewers are really
Yeah.
good.
Go split with the Pirates in the Steel City. Come back and sweep the Marlins. You're 6-6.
They are fortunate they have a lot of home games early because they only play one road season.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
coming back home.
Yeah,
Basically
but then
for
they
6
got-
more. Then they got a long stretch.
Then they got
on
the
road.
Mexico's 2-game series against the Cardinals, and then the West Coast swing against the Dodgers and the Padres. I'm not concerned. I'm really not. It's
Those
just
are good teams too, though.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah.
forget that. All those teams you
yeah.
mentioned.
I feel you. Well, we're not. Well, we've already faced one of the best teams in baseball.
I still
once.
think we'll make the playoffs, though.
Really?
I still think we'll make the
Whoa.
playoffs.
Whoa!
about
I wish Zach
I'm
were on
just
the set
saying,
right now
I
to
think
roast you.
Now, I'm not saying we are, but I honestly think that we could.
There's no
think-
doubt
I
we
mean-
can. FC Cincinnati could also make the playoffs.
I would give them more of a shot than the Reds.
Okay.
I'll put it that way.
That's fair.
I don't know
think
enough about FC, so
They just, I mean, they had a bad night. I think with the weather on Saturday in Philadelphia.
horrible.
Oh, I was there. It was miserable. This Sunday, Sporting Kansas City, 3 o'clock on ESPN. If you can get a win there, because you got a tough month of April at LA Football Club, who's like one of the, if not the top team in MLS in terms of points right now. You come back home to face Real Salt Lake, and then you go to the New York Red Bulls. That's a tough month of April right there. Get a winning at Sporting Kansas City, and you're looking really good going into a tough month of April.
Yeah, and definitely, I think. I mean, just the fact that this is their first year in MLS. Look, if they don't make the playoffs, I'm not gonna be dissatisfied with that.
No one
at the
should
end
be.
of the day, this is a learning experience for us as fans, for them to be in that environment, playing the level of competition they're playing, and they're only gonna get better. So this year, I think it's definitely just a grooming year, figure it out. From the Reds standpoint, I mean, it's new everything. They're a new coaching staff, from pitching coach to manager to
Hitting coach is new.
probably ball boy. They got new ball boys and everything there. I mean, the Reds are just they're gonna have to really prove it to me at this point, because it's been 5 years. I mean, it's been 5 years of, and 4 years they had 90 lost seasons.
Yep.
I mean, they've been one of the worst teams in baseball, trading away Johnny Cueto and Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce and all these guys we fell in love with as Reds fans. So Yasiel Puig and Matt Kemp, they're nice players, but the Dodgers didn't get rid of them for a reason at the same time. But they were really, the star players that they wanted. They didn't get rid of Clayton Kershaw.
Mm-hmm.
So that means that they were willing to part ways with those players. So you got to see if the Reds are going to pull it together. But they have some young prospects coming up as well. But I still think they're about a year or two away before we really can. They're definitely not leapfrogging the Brewers. The Cubs are going to be right there. The Cardinals seem to always be there. They're like the Steelers, just always hang around. And then the Pirates. That's 4 really good teams potentially in your own division. So it's just hard to get past if you're going to really make just a wild card push in the National League.
It's going to be difficult without question. But I'm not concerned.
I'm just glad Nippard's back open. Finally.
Yes.
I'm so glad.
And Sheekley Lawn.
And Sheekley. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That's my main concerns right now.
Well, then you have
Nothing wrong with that.
You have a pretty good life then. Well, thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy watching. We hope you have enjoyed watching this recording, and we'll be back most likely in the fall of this 2019 calendar year during football season, alongside Ethan Bastian, Sean McMahon. I'm Alex Frank. Thanks to our executive producer, Brendan Mitchell. And if you like the content we're producing, be sure to subscribe on Bearcast Media. Good night from Cincinnati.